So hello and welcome to today's video. Thank you for tuning in, guys and girls. I might stress over 30% of the viewers are actually of the better sex. So shout out and thank you for watching the channel. As you know from the title of the video, obviously we will be discussing the Esee Izula II and my issues with it. This is the only Esee knife that I currently own, and I really wanted to like this knife because it does have the specifications. It ticks all the necessary boxes for a nice small EDC knife. Well, actually it doesn't, but on paper. So the blade length, the shape, geometry, the nice belly here, the curve, the steel should be decent and acceptable for the price range, obviously. Actually, we'll talk about the steel also. But so it is a tough steel, obviously, and it in this case is treated by Rowan. The heat treatment is done there. The number one issue I have with this basically is edge retention, and so before we get there with the I blame it on the heat treat because we do have other examples of 1095 steels. This is a K-bar BK16 Crow steel. That's basically a 1095, and here's another one, Top's brother of bushcraft. This is a tank of a knife with a very thick edge, so I will show some, bring them in for comparisons. But so the idea of the Izula I like. I think let's start with the sheath. The sheath I would have done differently. I like taco style sheaths much better, just because of a smaller footprint, simpler but sturdier construction. Even if I take all of these rivets off, the sheath will still be functional. Not as safe and secure, obviously, because the edge can fly out, but in this case, in such sheaths where well, in this one, actually this is melted together and you can take all of the screws out and this will still hold. But anyway, shape wise, still a smaller footprint, and I do prefer this style. Also, I can do a lock on this, whereas here you don't have that option, even though I have to stress that this sheath has an extremely good retention, a very reassuring click. That's not the issue, but I can still, that's not a lock. Whereas on a sheath like this, we can put the blade in, you see it comes out easy, and then if we slide this up, now it is locked. So another way of securing the blade in the sheath. So I don't really like the sheath much. This is a very strong clip, so no issues there. Just the form factor of the sheath, because it is a smaller knife, I think could have been smaller. That aside, the knife handle, manufacturers often get this wrong. I will probably get a lot of heat for critiquing Esee, because they're supposed to be experts, etc. But I don't think this is an optimal solution, and the side here should be thicker and deeper in. The micarta should go up to probably this point, and I'll explain why. Without sacrificing much in terms of weight, etc. So this is supposed to be a smaller knife, sure. for those that do have the Izula, please just rotate it upwards and tell me this does not feel better. Just the way your hand is shaped, this is the longest finger, so that's why we have a belly, right? And then these two are approximately the same size, but then we have a small and a larger circle. So in the middle here we have the largest one. Second largest would be this circle, and then this would be smallest. So ideally, actually, this shape reversed. So this is the most ergonomic distribution of girth and thickness, right? Not even this. And I understand this is BK 16 by Becker, who again is another expert in knives, and he knows all about geometry and ergonomy of a bushcraft handle, but this is too much. So I think what they should have done is reversed. So this side, imagine, so we would have just slightly thicker neck here, and then it can go down, no problems, and you would have a better hold. Obviously, for the knife to slip in easier, this does not have 3D, bellies, etc. It's a flat scale, but well-rounded, I have to say. There's absolutely no hotspots here on the micarta. But this solution is another thing I don't like. I think the micarta should come up all the way to where the Izula II is printed, so that you have a better purchase on the knife. Other than that, again, I talked the positives. The shape of the blade itself, very nice. The size factor, very nice. I would have just turned this handle around, so that you do have a better grip, better purchase. So just some other examples of similar size blades. This is a knife that I made and featured recently, the make on the channel, but I did some upgrades to it. So this was all wood, and I changed the design, ground some wood away from here, and used this hemp rope and epoxy, as well as a similar material to this. These are some other scales I made from jeans and some hemp material. But yeah, so anyway, as you can see, significantly larger handle, and you get a very reassuring grip, universal, so Puko style, classical Puko style in terms of that, right? Ambidextrous. And if you compare, this knife does way more work. It takes more pressure in terms of, because this is a whittling knife, it's a small knife, so you do things that you are uncomfortable doing with this because it's just too large. But my philosophy is, where you do sometimes sacrifice on the edge retention for the sake of the knife being tough, that applies to larger knives, this size and larger, let's say, because you do significantly harder work with this. You put stress, impacts, batoning, prying, all kinds of things, whereas a smaller knife, especially an EDC smaller knife, that is praised as Esee knives are, I think should hold a much better edge, and probably should be hardened at a higher Rockwell hardness compared to a larger one. So if this type of 1095 high carbon steels are hardened, say 57, 58. This should probably go 58, 59, so that it has better edge retention, again, because that's all you should be doing with this, is just cutting and slicing. So what I've noticed on this knife is, I would have changed the scales. I do that all the time. The handle, I changed the sheath, but I can't do heat treating. I don't have the supplies and the conditions to do a heat treat on a steel as simple as 1095 even. So, and I don't want to mess with all that, taking the paint off and doing all that things for a tiny knife. But what I noticed in work was I would sharpen the knife, then start using it, and immediately it would lose an edge. It wouldn't be hair popping sharp or paper cutting sharp. So I want to demonstrate that I'm not making this up. Now, it could be a bad batch, or it could just be that this 57, it is claimed at 57 HRC. I believe it's significantly lower. So here we go. You see that it is cutting paper. It's not very sharp, but it is sharp, right? This is all it took. Right before taping, I did this tested. So I struck it and then went to paper cutting sharp, and this is all it took to dull the knife. And that's just laughable for a knife that's made to be used in the woods. So let me continue here on camera, just somewhere in the middle. And it really does not take much, unfortunately. Again, I'm not trying to bash Esee, I'm not trying to bash Izula, the design or row and hate treats, but let's see. Give it a little more work. And the wood is not particularly hard wood. It's somewhere in the middle. Nothing special. Another thing I was telling you about, you see that grip and pressure? I have to do this to have a better, to be able to put more pressure. And that's another thing that I don't like in knives that have a very thin neck right at the end of your hammer grip. This is very bad. You see that? Like where my finger is, it shouldn't be there. It should be somewhere like this. Like this. Look at the difference of the grip. I can't even, it's very uncomfortable. That's why I'm saying, if you want to keep this smaller size factor, at least flip the scale. So have the wider side up here. That would have helped significantly. You see, it's done. Now I'll show you some other carbon steels that I've done work with. This has a slight damage in here, but over here all I've done is very basic, simple stropping. You see that 1095 K-bar, Crow and steel. You see how easy it cuts into print paper, right? And it holds a decent edge. I mean, it's nothing crazy. Obviously, it's 1095. Same here, 1095 high carbon steel from Tops. This is a behemoth. Behind the edge, it's a Scandi Vex. So I've convexed the bevel, and this is about 30-degree total from both sides. And I've done work with this knife. Look, just like butter. This is Lowry LPT, differentially heat treated. So the edge on here is supposed to be, I've got some oil here. The edge here is supposed to be 61, if I'm not mistaken. So slightly higher, 61, 62. Not slightly, actually significantly higher. But you can see, and this has some oils and actually some glue from scotch tape that I had protecting the blade while I was making the handle. But you can see, right? I mean, just like butter. Stainless steel, so 1095 should hold at least the same edge. I've done work, cutting, food, all kinds of things with this blade. And all I've done is cleaned it and stroked it. And it's cutting without problems. This is the Terava Jacaripuco from Varustelika. Stainless version, stainless steel. This is Gizlyar Supreme PGK steel. I actually discovered this steel about a year ago, and so far I love it. It's very good steel for survival knives, for bushcraft knives. Holds a very good edge. I've done chopping, betoning. I have some videos where I'm showcasing these knives and I'm using them. And I just recently, before this video, this was all messed up and dirty with some residue from the cutting greens and wrenches. Zero rust. I just used rubbing alcohol and wiped it off with a paper towel. It came off. So it is quite corrosion resistant. Very tough steel. Holds a great edge. I think it's hardened at around 60, maybe slightly higher. And again, this does have a quite acute edge for a bushcraft woods knife. It is 30 degrees, so 30 degrees would be a problem for many steels, just like butter, just like butter. And I have not even stroked this knife. This is how good PGK steel is when it is properly heat treated. This knife went through betoning, chopping, all kinds of things. It is still shaving sharp. So a knife, as you know, because you're on the channel and you have watched it for almost 20 minutes now, upon doing a half of a feather stick, should not fail to cut paper. And I mean, it is, but no push cuts. It is cutting if I slide it, but even then it's catching. And as I said, this is not my first observation. That's why I don't carry this knife anymore. It's because I noticed that it is very weak in edge retention. So I would like to know what your experience is, because again, this may be a bad batch of heat treating, and this knife is about 10 years old. I have to say that could be a bad batch, but you see it's tearing. It's tearing. Yeah, so that's my experience with the Esee Izula II. Please do let me know your thoughts and opinions and your experience in the comments below. Also, stay tuned. I've got some very interesting videos coming soon. Some new EDC items that I'm expecting, some new flashlights, some very nice watches, both higher end, very high end, and affordable alternatives as well. So please do like the video, subscribe if you're interested into such content, and see you in the next one. Thank you.